All right guys, hi, my name is Stuart Moore with Carson's Nursery, and today I'm going to show you how to use the three-step process that we use, a program that with the 200 years worth of collective experience at the nursery, we came up with the best things that you can do for your plants and get them thriving, not just surviving. So there is a difference. A surviving plant is obviously for some of us very good, but we don't like to stop there. At Carson's, we want things thriving. So that's where the inoculants come in, which is the beneficial fungus and beneficial bacteria that you purchase at the nursery. That's where the root stimulator comes in to increase the amount of surface area for those beneficial fungus and rhizospheric bacteria to take advantage of. The more surface area, the more efficient that root zone is going to become. And then finally, the 2-year fertilizer tablets, which are there to supplement some of the nutrition while all of that is getting established and the plant is kind of in its infancy in its new home. So let's start by digging the hole. All right, let's check our levels to make sure that we're going to be at the right depth. So one thing I like to do, and everybody's a little different, I just like to just rub my hands around the root ball. See if any of that loose soil comes off. Now I only do this with potted material. A balled and burlap tree, I would leave completely alone. I would leave the basket on it. The only thing that I would do is I would cut the strings away from the trunk so they don't girdle the trunk, and I like to plant about 1 inch high. All right, so I'd say that's about perfect. All right, let me go turn on the garden hose and I'll show you how to inoculate the soil. All right, so now it's time to start putting the soil back in the hole. And what we're gonna do with that is we're gonna follow the instructions on the bag. This is the Root Healthy Start, which is an inoculant, beneficial fungus and beneficial bacteria. And it touts that it uses no sludges and no manure. So, I mean, it pretty much smells like dog food to me, so it's not offensive. But if you're using this, if you're using the Biotone, if you're using the one-step inoculants, any of those will work. You use them the same way. So what I like to do is inoculate. I'm going to do a couple spoonfuls here. And I'm going to thoroughly mix this. Now, remember, we're not using the Healthy Start, we're not using the Biotone, we're not using the transplant packet as a fertilizer, we're using it as an inoculant for beneficial fungus and beneficial bacteria. Our fertilizer is going to come from the 2-year fertilizer tablets, that supplement that we're adding to the soil in order to just kind of get it established, supplement until it can get into the profile. So now that we've inoculated, which that's really all it takes, that's the great thing about some of these products, is you don't have to sit there and make a compost tea. You don't, I mean, all you do is you cut open the bag and you follow the instructions and you make sure you thoroughly mix it with the backfill to make sure those fungal spores are evenly distributed throughout your backfill. And guys, that's it. All right guys, let's get to it, the physical labor part of this. All right, fertilizer tablets. All right, and depending on how many of these fertilizer tablets your tree is going to need, we'll tell you at the nursery, but I just like to push them down into the soil about 6 inches or halfway. All right, let's give it a quick drink. And this is going to help kind of settle that soil. So I like to do it at this point. Kind of create a little dam, you know, so so the water settles. So I think everything looks good. Guys, I'm just going to put a little bit more soil in here. And remember, this has all been inoculated. And tomorrow I'm going to come in and I'm going to put a lot more mulch on this. All right, guys, so I got a nice thick layer of mulch here, but I'm not up against the trunk. I've pulled that away a little bit and I can see roots, so maybe about an inch or two. Nothing crazy, but a nice thick layer out here, and that's going to create a more fungal rich environment, which is what trees really, really like. Nice thick layer of mulch, keep that radiant heat from evaporating water out of our soil profile, keep stuff nice and cool, make weeds. If you don't use a pre-emergent and a post-emergent, weeds will be really easy to pull up if they can gain purchase at all. And now it's time for our root stimulator. So you remember I watered it in with some clean water, compressed the soil. It rained last night, so now the whole soil profile is nice and saturated. And I know that root stimulator is going to stick around for a little while and chemically cauterize those roots. I've got a little tip for you. So you don't have to ruin a measuring cup like you would use in your home kitchen. What I like to do is I like to take one of the measuring cups from the kitchen and put a cup of water in it, or whatever measurement I'm trying to get, and dump it into a come and go cup or a Casey's cup, or just kind of a disposable cup that I'm going to throw away anyway, and put a little mark on it. And then just give it a quick trim with the trusty Coronas here. And now, oh geez Louise. And now I have a little cup that I can keep with, you know, I can just set it on top of my root stimulator and put it up on the shelf. And how this basically breaks down is 1 cup for every 5 gallons of water is kind of how that plays out. So I just like to have a little cup designated for each thing. And if you make something like this, I mean, it's just real easy to just place on there and just put it up on the shelf. So try that out. It might be a little less intimidating than borrowing somebody's cup and then they go to make brownies and everything tastes like Roundup. All right, so that's all it takes. Now remember, the sole purpose for the root stimulator, and the root stimulator has a mild fertilizer in it. It's a 4-10-3, so nitrogen 4, phosphorus 10, and the 3 is the potassium. Now, how I always like to remember that is top growth, root growth, overall plant health. So it's a root stimulator. It would make sense that it would concentrate its fertilizer on the roots. But really where the magic happens is when it's cauterizing those root hairs and creating more surface area for our beneficial fungus and beneficial bacteria to thrive. All 3 of these products that are encouraged in the Carson Way, which is the Carson way of planting something, all work in symbiosis. They all help each other. So, and what I like to do is I like to just slowly just kind of drench, let it drain a little while. Yeah, see, this is nice, well-drained soil. You can kind of see it. It rained good yesterday, so I know. All right, I'm going to continue drenching this, and I'm going to speed this up for you guys. All right, that looks like it can take no more. Starting to hang around for a little while, and that kind of happens when you clean water first. But I've got these beautiful limelight hydrangeas that I haven't root stimulated either, so I'll just give this guy the rest. Guys, that's it. You've got some sort of beneficial fungus or beneficial bacteria inoculant. That's going to be very, very important. You have root stimulator, which is kind of the last step. Very, very important. And then you have the 2-year fertilizer tablet that acts as a supplement to make sure everything gets the nutrition it needs in its new home. And it just lasts 2 years, and then you can do a tree and shrub afterwards. But if everything's nice and growing healthy because you started them the right way, then it might not be necessary. All right, guys, my name is Stuart Moore. Thank you very much for letting me into your home to talk about plants.